Medieval history is built on battles, bards, and big bad kings. In all that chaos, what do ordinary people know about women in the Middle Ages? Well, more than you think. Let me tell you what they knew. When people picture the Middle Ages, they often imagine banners in the wind and knights in shining armor. I picture something quieter, the sound of keys on a ring. Not the keys to castles, but the little keys women carried for cupboards and chests, small islands of control in a world that told them, again and again, no, walk with me a while, and I will show you how those no's added up. Start in a market town in 14th century England. You hear the clatter of wooden carts, smell the yeast from alehouses, see bolts of wool and dyed cloth. Most women you pass can sew, brew, bargain, and keep accounts in their heads. Many can also read a recipe, but far fewer are allowed to read the Psalms. Formal schools, the grammar masters, and the new universities Oxford and Cambridge in England, Paris in France, Bologna in Italy keep their doors shut to women. There are exceptions, but they are rare. In southern Italy, around Salerno in the 12th century, women like Trota, sometimes called Trotula in later texts, are linked to medical writings and practical healing. In the German lands of the 12th century, Hildegard of Bingen writes theology and natural philosophy from her convent. And in early 15th century France, Christine de Pizan takes up her pen to argue that women deserve education and honor, not scorn. These are bright lamps. Most villages stay dark. Step into a great hall in the Frankish tradition and you will learn the next lesson. Who chooses a husband? Very often, not the bride. Families arrange marriages to knit fields and fortunes together. The church, to its credit, insists that both bride and groom must consent for a marriage to be valid in canon law. This becomes a powerful principle from the 12th century onward. But ideals on parchment often lose to pressures at the hearth. In noble houses in Capetian and Valois, France, and in Plantagenet and later Lancastrian England, marriages stitch political alliances. The same is true in the Crown of Aragon and the Italian city-states. Consent is required, compliance is expected. Now ask who holds the property. If you are in England under the common law by the late 13th century, you run into the doctrine later called coverture. On marriage, a woman's legal identity is largely folded into her husband's. She keeps a right to dower a life interest in a portion of his lands if he dies first, but managing, buying, and selling is typically his domain. Cross to France and the patchwork of customary laws gets complicated. In parts of northern France, inheritance skews male. In some southern customs, community property models give wives limited but real claims. In Iberia, the Siete Partidas compiled under Alfonso the Wise in the 13th century outlines marital property and guardianship with some careful protections, yet the husband's authority still dominates everyday transactions. There are always town charters and local exceptions, but if you map Europe from England to Poland and from Norway to Sicily, one pattern repeats. Women's property rights are narrower, their economic autonomy conditional. Follow me into a guild hall. In cities like London, Paris, Cologne, and Florence, guilds regulate craft and trade. Some guilds accept women as widows continuing a husband's shop, and a few, such as silk and ribbon trades in parts of late medieval Italy and France, allow women a presence. Brewing in England begins with alewives, but over time, regulation tightens and men take over the more profitable beer trade as hopped beer replaces traditional ale. Many crafts simply bar female apprentices outright. The sign over the door does not say no women allowed, but the bylaws and oaths might as well. Let us talk about movement. Could a woman travel alone? Wealthy widows sometimes do. Nuns move between houses with permission. Pilgrims, including women, set out on roads to Santiago de Compostela or to Canterbury, though not without risk. But in the everyday rhythm of life, custom expects a woman to have a guardian father, husband, brother, or master, particularly in Northern Europe. In some towns, bylaws require good fame and a male surety for lodging if you are a woman on your own. In the Crown of Castile and in parts of the Low Countries, court records show women suing and being sued, which means they do appear in public spaces. Still, their freedom to move is always measured against reputation and oversight. Clothing tells another story. Sumptuary laws rules about what you can wear flare up in waves. In England under Edward III, in the 1360s, statutes try to limit who may wear certain furs and fabrics, tying dress to rank. In Italian communes such as Florence and Siena, councils pass detailed rules targeting women's gowns, sleeves, and veils, claiming they must curb luxury for the sake of morality and civic order. The message is simple. Your body is a banner, and the city claims the right to write on it. Sometimes fines are small, sometimes they bite. Tailors learn to hide wealth in linings and seams. Women learn to walk the line between what the law prints and what life demands. Now listen inside a marriage. Medieval law codes are frank about a husband's right to correct a wife. What does that mean in practice? It depends on place and time. In England and Scotland, communal punishments for a scold, a woman accused of public nagging or disturbance, could include the cucking stool, a humiliating dunking in water, especially by the late medieval period. In towns across the German lands, civic courts lecture wives for disobedience and fine them. In others, they fine husbands for beating too harshly. Church courts throughout Latin Christendom hear complaints of cruelty and desertion, sometimes ordering separations from bed and board. The rule is not absolute violence. The rule is asymmetry. He is the head. She must be managed. What about a woman's voice in court? In many places, a woman's testimony is valid, especially in church courts dealing with marriage, wills, and sexual conduct. Yet her word can carry less weight in serious criminal matters, especially against a man of standing, and norms often prefer a male guardian to represent her interests in property disputes. Across England, France, and the Holy Roman Empire, there are plenty of cases where women win. There are also patterns where their statements must be backed by male witnesses or written proof. The playing field is not flat. People often ask me about witch hunts, and the Middle Ages gets blamed for all of them. The truth is messier. Accusations of sorcery exist throughout medieval Europe, but the largest waves of witch trials belong to the early modern period 16th and 17th centuries in German-speaking lands, Switzerland, Scotland, parts of France, and Scandinavia.